Welcome to About Everything. I have a question for you. What will you do when you find a dead body on the street? Maybe you're going to shout, call the police, or run away. Because dead bodies are supposed to be found in a cemetery where dead humans can be found. But what if I told you that there's a rising number of bodies found dead and decomposing in England and Wales? Be sure to tune in until the end of the video, and if you're not subscribed yet, you know what to do. Let's get started. In England and Wales, the number of cases of bodies that have been broken down being found has been going up for 40 years, with a big jump in the 1990s and 2000s. People often put this rise in cases into two groups: unattended deaths, and other ill-defined and unknown causes of mortality. A study from the University of Oxford looked into this problem and found that the number of deaths caused by decay was steadily rising. The study also found that guys were more likely to be found in a state of decomposition and that more people of all ages are dying at home. The researchers think that this worrying trend might be caused in part by a breakdown in social support networks. It's possible that the COVID-19 pandemic made the sense of isolation and harm that led to these cases worse. We must have to know what the problem is in order to better understand what's going on. Finding dead bodies in the UK is a disturbing trend that needs to be looked into right away. The rise in cases has been linked to things like austerity measures and social isolation, which we will talk about later in this video. To stop this upsetting trend, people need to learn more about how important relationships are and the dangers of being isolated. How does this issue of dead bodies affect families and communities? Finding bodies that have been broken down in the UK can have a huge effect on families and communities. Decomposition can make it hard to identify a body, which can lengthen the grieving process for families who want to put an end to their pain. When loved ones are faced with the horrible truth of their loss, it can take a huge emotional toll on them. Communities also suffer because bodies that have been broken down can cause anxiety and discomfort. It is very important for the authorities to help families and communities who have been affected by these terrible events by giving counseling services and making the identification process easier. To further discuss these parts, let's take a look at some of the notable dead bodies found in England and Wales. The bodies of 39 Vietnamese people were found in the trailer of a truck that kept food cold in Grays, Essex, England, in October 2019. After being taken from Zeebrugge, Belgium, the victims died of smothering or being too cold. A joint investigation by Essex Police, the National Crime Agency, and officials in Belgium, Ireland, and Vietnam caught and sentenced several people who were involved in the smuggling. As another example, about 280 human bodies were found under the Welsh building that used to be Ochey White. Archaeologists working on a rebuilding project in Haverfordwest, Pembrokeshire, Wales, found the bodies of about 280 people, some of whom were babies, from the 13th century to the 16th. The find was made at the site of a friary from the Middle Ages. Well, that's when austerity and social isolation will take place. But first, what are these two terms? Austerity refers to the economic strategies that governments use to keep the public debt in check. To fix the economy's finances and boost trust, it means cutting government spending and raising taxes. In addition, economic policies can have an unfavorable impact on weaker organizations like poor people, making social problems and loneliness worse. This is different from social isolation, which means not having any friends or being involved in your town. As a result of austerity measures, many social services and neighborhood programs are cut, making it harder for people to connect with others for support. In more than one way, it can cut back on public benefits and support networks. For starters, governments that use austerity policies usually cut spending, which includes money for support and public services. This can make it harder for people to get to services they need, like healthcare, schooling, social welfare programs, and others. To add to this, Austerity measures may cause the public sector to lose jobs, which makes it even harder for public services to meet people's needs. Because of economic policies, local governments are getting less money from the federal government and state governments. As a result, they may have to lay off public service workers, which means they won't have enough staff to do their jobs as well. People may become socially separated when they can't afford to use social services because of money problems. Less access to health care, transportation, education, and community activities can make it harder for them to make friends and get involved. Also, more poverty can make it harder to find resources for social events and connect with other people. This can make feelings of loneliness and separation even worse. It can be hard for people to break out of the cycle of social isolation that comes with less access to services and more poverty. This can have bad effects on their physical and mental health. If you like what you've learned so far, please subscribe and click the bell icon to get more videos like this. To get back to the topic, these dead bodies can hurt people's mental health, general well-being, and ability to get along with others in many ways. Finding a dead body in the community can have instant and long-lasting effects on the mental health of people who see it or are directly affected by it. Seeing someone die can make you feel shocked, sad, and traumatized, which can make your stress levels rise. They might have disturbing nightmares and anxiety thoughts that won't go away, which can make them feel alone as they deal with the mental effects of what happened. Communities that have events involving dead bodies may go through a lot of trauma as a result. The shame that comes with these kinds of events can also make people in the affected area feel alone and left out. People who were involved in the incident may be shunned by their neighbors and other people in the neighborhood. After events involving dead bodies, they can mess up social networks in a community. Because of how the event made people feel, neighbors and friends may pull away from each other. This can make it hard for people to get the social support they need during a tough time. This can make people feel lonely and alone by breaking up their social ties. There is an urgent need for community help and intervention to deal with the mental health and well-being problems that come up after incidents involving dead bodies. Local governments, mental health groups, and community leaders should work together to give affected communities counseling services, educational programs, and other tools that help people get through hard times and stay together. What are the things that can be done to help these people who are victims of decomposed bodies? The first step is to support and reach out to groups. Set up community outreach programs to get in touch with people and families who were touched by the event. Get neighborhood leaders, social workers, and mental health professionals involved to help and guide people who need it. Because they've been through trauma, they need to be able to receive mental health services, making sure that people can easily get counseling and therapy. Set up crisis helplines and support services to help people who are having serious mental health problems right away. The public also needs to be made aware of this problem by starting campaigns to make mental health problems less of a taboo subject and urge people to get help. There are still a lot of things that we can do. But for now, let's pray for those people who are victims of these issues and hope they are in good condition. But as always, we'll see you around and subscribe for more entertaining content here at About Everything.